When Tiger Woods leaned over to the Air Force One steward mid-flight, casually requesting a course change toward Augusta, he expected a polite nod. Instead, the pilot stormed into the cabin. "But before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from." Eyes sharp, face pale, and refused, citing a classified directive from the president. Tiger's heartbeat quickened, his palms turned cold. What was happening? And why was the world's most famous athlete suddenly a threat in the sky? The moment hung in the air like static. Tiger blinked. "Excuse me?" he asked, voice calm but taut. The steward, now awkwardly stiff beside him, stepped back as the pilot, Colonel Nathan Rourke, stood inches away from the world's most recognizable athlete. "I said no, Mr. Woods. This aircraft is following a pre-cleared national security route. There will be no deviations." The cabin, moments ago filled with soft laughter and quiet conversation, went silent. A journalist in the corner lowered her drink. A general's wife tilted her head. Tiger managed a tight smile. "I wasn't asking to detour over Moscow, just Augusta. Thought the commander-in-chief might enjoy a surprise 9 holes." Colonel Rourke didn't laugh. "My orders are not to be discussed. Please remain in your seat." Tiger's jaw clenched as the pilot turned and marched back through the cabin. The steward offered a quick, nervous bow and disappeared as well. Something was off, deeply off. He looked around. Half the passengers were high-ranking officials or White House guests, faces he recognized from dinners and golf tournaments. And yet, no one met his gaze. Even the friendly senator from Ohio, who joked with him during takeoff, was suddenly engrossed in a newspaper. He exhaled slowly and unbuckled his seatbelt, standing under the low cabin ceiling. Calm on the outside. Alert on the inside. He moved casually to the restroom at the rear of the cabin. As he passed a coat closet, his eyes caught something. Movement. Through a crack in the door, he spotted a man in a black security uniform kneeling over one of the passenger bags. His bag. Tiger froze. The agent's hand slid into the side pocket, extracted something, a compact black notebook Tiger always carried with him, and held it up to the light. Not just random inspection. They were searching him. Tiger quickly turned, back to the corridor, forcing his breath to remain even. He entered the restroom, closed the door, and locked it. In the mirror, his reflection stared back, tense and unblinking. What the hell was going on? As he flushed the sink for cover noise, Tiger pulled out his phone and found it had been disabled. No signal, no Wi-Fi, just one word blinking on the screen: restricted. The cold water from the sink couldn't calm the storm rising inside Tiger's chest. His phone screen was still blinking, restricted, no signal, no apps, just a dead rectangle pretending to be alive. He stuffed it back into his pocket and splashed water on his face, breathing in through his nose, out through clenched teeth. "Calm down, you've faced worse. Majors, crowds, cameras. This is just different." But no matter how many times he told himself that, the feeling remained. Something was wrong. And it had started with him. He stepped back into the cabin, forcing a smile as he made his way down the aisle. The moment he returned to his seat, a different steward appeared. Not the young guy from before. This one was older, hair buzzed tight, no name tag. "Mr. Woods, can I get you anything?" His voice was robotic, too formal. Tiger shook his head. "I'm fine, thanks." The steward nodded but didn't leave. He just stood there, watching, silent. "Actually," Tiger said, pretending casual curiosity, "what happened to the other guy?" "Tim?" The steward didn't blink. "He's off duty." "Off duty?" Tiger repeated, eyebrows raised. "We're 30,000 feet in the air." The steward said nothing, just turned and walked away. Across the aisle, a female reporter whispered something to her colleague, her eyes flicking toward Tiger, then quickly away. He turned toward the window, pretending to admire the clouds, but his mind was racing. He reached under his seat for his duffel bag. Gone. He looked down again, slower this time, still gone. His blood chilled. That was the same bag the agent had been searching, his tournament bag. It had his meds, his credentials, even a letter from the president himself. Now it was missing. Before he could move, a soft ding overhead caught his attention. The intercom crackled. "This is your captain speaking," came Colonel Rourke's voice. "Due to slight turbulence and minor rerouting procedures, passengers are asked to remain seated for the next 45 minutes. Flight crew will continue normal service." Tiger narrowed his eyes. "Rerouting procedures?" he whispered. He stood slowly, ignoring the announcement. As he turned to head toward the cockpit, the woman who'd been whispering earlier stood and gently blocked his path. "Mr. Woods," she said quietly, "don't make this harder for yourself." "What's going on?" he asked. Before she could answer, a faint voice crackled from a nearby wall-mounted crew radio, just loud enough for Tiger to hear. Confirm, passenger tag Indigo 7, prepare phase 2, presidential override not yet acknowledged. Tiger's hands went numb as a horrifying realization struck him. They weren't just watching him, they were preparing something. But what was Protocol Indigo? Tiger's breath caught. Passenger tag Indigo 7. Presidential override not yet acknowledged. The words rang in his ears like a siren. He backed away from the wall panel, every nerve in his body pulsing with warning. He wasn't paranoid anymore. He was being targeted. Back in his seat, he kept still, eyes scanning the cabin. Something had shifted. The air felt denser. A subtle tension hung like fog. He watched the new steward pour drinks robotically, avoiding eye contact. The passengers were either too quiet or too polite. He felt caged. The seatbelt sign blinked, though there wasn't a bump in sight. Tiger turned toward the aisle again, and this time a man in civilian clothes was standing beside him. Broad shoulders, sharp jaw, military haircut under a businessman's disguise. Mr. Woods, the man said with a calmness Tiger didn't trust. We'd like to ask you to remain seated for the rest of the flight. Tiger tilted his head. And who exactly is we? The man gave a thin smile. Flight Command. Tiger stared at him for a long second before turning back to the window. Tell Flight Command they can come say it themselves. The man didn't move. Let's not escalate. Let's, Tiger said under his breath. He could feel it now, a silent perimeter being built around him. He was being boxed in, quietly but completely. Every movement drew a glance. Every glance carried a warning. 20 minutes later, he found his chance. The replacement steward dropped a napkin beside him, on purpose. When he bent down to retrieve it, Tiger was already up, moving past him in one fluid, silent step. He moved toward the front of the plane, where the cockpit door loomed behind a secured corridor. No guards, no voices, just soft hums of technology and silence. Tiger pressed his hand against the keypad beside the cockpit. Nothing. He pulled his phone again, despite knowing better, still dead. But then, faint static. A tiny ripple of sound. His signal-scrambled screen flickered. For half a second, a message popped up, only to vanish. Hello, Tiger, we see you. Indigo. His stomach dropped. Suddenly, the cockpit door clicked. Not open, just unlocked. Tiger froze. He reached slowly for the handle, and just as his fingers brushed it, a voice behind him barked, "Step away from the door!" He turned to see the same agent from earlier, this time with a hand resting openly on his holstered weapon. Mr. Woods, the agent said, voice low and tight. You're not authorized to be here. Return to your seat. Now, Tiger raised his hands. I just wanted to talk to the captain. I'm a guest on this plane, remember? You were, the agent said. Until command flagged you. Flagged me? For what? The man didn't answer. But his eyes, cold, calculated, told Tiger all he needed to know. As Tiger was escorted back down the aisle, a sudden jolt shook the aircraft. Overhead, the captain's voice rang out. Brace for rapid descent. Estimated ground contact in 14 minutes. But no one had told him where they were landing. The cabin lights dimmed slightly. A voice crackled overhead, this time emotionless, mechanical. Prepare for descent. Please return to your seats and fasten seatbelts. All passengers must remain seated until further notice. But Tiger knew what this was. This wasn't turbulence. This was containment. And something told him whatever was waiting on the ground wasn't part of the original flight plan. He turned to the window and saw nothing but endless clouds. No skyline, no landmarks, just haze. That's when the realization hit him. They were descending into total isolation. He had one shot to break through the blackout. Back at his seat, Tiger leaned toward the side panel just behind his armrest. He knew this aircraft inside and out. He'd toured it years ago during a charity flight. There were redundancies built into Air Force One, backup comms, encrypted override panels. He reached down, slipping his fingers beneath the side trim of his seat's console. A click. A panel popped loose, revealing a tiny port. Still there? He pulled a cable from the pocket of his jacket, an old golfing smartwatch charger, and quickly rerouted it into the port, plugging the other end into his watch. The screen buzzed. A prompt appeared. Enter ID to activate secure comm link. Tiger hesitated, then typed, Ewoods 97 processing, access granted. A soft hum. The console flickered alive. He tapped quickly, accessing secure channels he never thought he'd need. Just as he connected, he spoke a single name. General Maddox, this is Tiger. I'm on AF-1 and something's wrong. Tell the president I think someone's hijacked your plane. He sent it. No reply. Just then, a hand gripped his shoulder hard. "Step away." Tiger spun around, too fast for the agent to react. He slammed his elbow into the man's wrist, knocking the weapon loose. The gun slid down the aisle. The agent lunged, but Tiger ducked low, swept his leg, and sent him crashing to the floor. People screamed. Tiger sprinted toward the back of the cabin, ducking behind rows of seats as the second agent gave chase. He dove into the service galley, slammed the door shut behind him, and wedged a metal cart under the handle, panting. Blood from a cut on his cheek. He looked up. A small touchscreen glowed beside the coffee maker. Crew internal comms. He tapped it. "System restricted. Crew passcode required." He hesitated, then typed something he remembered from a White House security tour. 18 Golf 88 access denied. Again, 44 Eagle 22. The screen blinked, then opened. He was in. Tiger accessed the cabin cameras, saw the pilot speaking with someone wearing a uniform that didn't belong on Air Force One, a private military contractor. Tiger's pulse spiked. Then the cameras switched to the cargo bay. Inside, secured to the floor, military-grade containment crates, not luggage, not gear, weapons. He turned back to the comms interface and initiated a secondary transmission, direct satellite ping to the president's secure emergency line. The signal went through. "Secure link established. Please state emergency." Tiger leaned in, voice shaking but steady. "This is Tiger Woods aboard Air Force One. I believe the plane has been compromised. I need to speak to the president." Just then, the comm screen blinked, and a reply came through. "Mr. Woods, the president isn't aboard. You're flying under a decoy manifest. We've been trying to locate that plane for over an hour." Tiger's breath caught as the reality hit. He wasn't on Air Force One, and he had no idea whose plane this really was. Tiger staggered back from the screen, heart pounding. This wasn't Air Force One. It was a ghost, an airborne illusion cloaked in presidential authority, and he was the only one on board who didn't know the truth until now. The door behind him shook violently. The galley cart rattled under the pressure. The agent was trying to force his way in. Tiger scanned the interface, looking for anything. Coordinates, a signal relay, something to tell him where they were headed. He found it. A blinking destination code. NV-37. Unregistered airstrip outside Tonopah, Nevada. A place so classified it didn't exist on any commercial map. He had minutes. He yanked open an access panel behind the galley equipment and followed the ladder downward into the narrow crawl space that connected to the avionics bay. Wires, tubing, claustrophobic heat. The space barely fit his frame, but Tiger pressed forward, ignoring the pain in his knees, the sting of blood from his temple. Somewhere above, metal banged again. They'd breached the galley. Tiger reached the subbay access panel and dropped into the lower equipment compartment. Rows of blinking modules, electrical guts of the aircraft. In the corner, a backup comms node, shielded but still operational. He activated the override switch. The emergency beacon pinged once, twice, then a voice. "Tiger?" came the voice, distorted but familiar. "Tiger, is that you?" "General Maddox. Alive. Connected." "General, the flight's been hijacked. This isn't Air Force One. They've cloned the systems. They're landing in Nevada. There's military hardware in the cargo hold, I think." A crash above. Footsteps. They'd found the panel. No time. "Tiger, listen. NORAD has scrambled interceptors. We're locking on now." "Can you slow them down?" "I'll try," Tiger said, already moving. He climbed back up, burst into the rear service corridor, and ran for the stairwell leading to the main cabin. As he reached the top step, a shot rang out. The bullet cracked into the wall inches from his head. He ducked. The agent from earlier stood with weapon raised, flanked by two others. Tiger raised his hands, but his mind was racing. Behind him was the service trolley. One heavy push. He grabbed it, swung it forward with everything he had. The agents reacted too slow. The metal slammed into the lead man, knocking him into the second. The third fired blindly, but Tiger was already sprinting past them, shoving through the curtain into first class. Gasps erupted. Passengers ducked. The faux pilot, Colonel Rourke, turned from the cockpit with a scowl. Tiger charged. The two collided mid-cabin. Rourke tackled him hard, but Tiger twisted, using his weight to roll them both over. Fists flew, elbows. Blood splattered against the window. Tiger landed a brutal hook to Rourke's jaw and shoved him backward, straight into the cockpit door. It opened. Tiger fell in with him. The co-pilot turned, startled, but too late. Tiger reached over and yanked the yoke hard right. The entire aircraft lurched. Alarms blared. People screamed. From outside, streaks of white sliced across the sky. Two F-22 Raptors in close formation. The radio came alive. "Unidentified aircraft, you are in restricted airspace. Prepare for forced descent or we will engage." Tiger scrambled to the console and slammed the transmission button. This is Tiger Woods. This is not Air Force One. I repeat, this is not Air Force One. Silence. Then, copy that. Stand by for intercept. Tiger slumped into the pilot's seat, bruised and panting. But the nightmare wasn't over yet. The co-pilot reached for a hidden switch under the console. A red key. Missile control. What the hell was this plane really carrying? The key hovered over the console. Tiger lunged. His hand clamped down on the co-pilot's wrist just as the man twisted the red switch. The pilot resisted, gritting his teeth, but Tiger's grip was steel. They struggled in silence. No words, just pure instinct. Finally, with a guttural shout, Tiger slammed the man's hand into the panel, forcing it away from the trigger. The F-22s outside locked in formation. A warning shot streaked past the nose. White fire across endless gray. This is your final warning. Divert now, or be neutralized. Tiger grabbed the headset and shouted into it, voice cracking. They tried to launch something. He had a key. The co-pilot has a key. The voice on the other end changed tone instantly. Copy that. We're initiating EMP protocol. Brace for detonation. EMP? Tiger barely had time to throw himself against the cabin floor before the sky outside pulsed bright white. A soundless wave hit the aircraft like a tsunami of silence. Everything died. The engines, the screens, the lights. Gravity vanished. The plane fell into a terrifying freefall. Screams erupted. Oxygen masks dropped. Tiger clawed his way back into the cockpit and saw both pilots unconscious, the systems fried. The only thing still working was his own breath, hammering inside his chest. This was it. Then an explosion of wind. The rear emergency door had been breached. A cable fired through, latching onto the frame. The Raptors weren't here to shoot. They were here to extract. A rescue cable. A winch. A voice called through the headset. Tiger, grab it! We've got you! He stumbled toward the cable, the cabin tipping hard left. He hooked his arms through the harness just as the aircraft tilted nearly vertical. He flew backward, out of the plane, up into the sky. Moments later, the aircraft spiraled into a controlled descent guided by a secondary system deployed from the Raptors. A forced crash landing. Nobody died. But Tiger never saw the wreck hit the sand. He was already unconscious. 3 days later, Tiger sat alone in a secure debrief room at NORAD, his hands wrapped in gauze, eyes tired but alert. Across from him, a general watched silently as Tiger flipped through satellite photos of the wreckage. What was the real mission? Tiger asked, voice low. We're still figuring that out, the general replied. Someone wanted to use your name as a cover. Your presence gave them clearance access. Whoever planned this knew every protocol. Tiger looked down at the final image, a scorched crate in the sand. Unmarked. Open. Empty. Will I ever know what was inside? The general didn't answer. Later, as Tiger stepped outside into the Colorado air, reporters screamed his name beyond the gates. Flashbulbs popped. The world wanted a hero. But Tiger wasn't interested in headlines. He wasn't sure who he'd been on that plane, passenger, pawn, or protector. All he knew was this. The next time someone invited him aboard with a smile and a handshake, he'd bring his own flight plan. Because as he stared into the setting sun, one thought burned deeper than the rest. This story was intense, but this story on the right-hand side is even more insane.